Hello and welcome. I'm Miss Heard with Miss Heard Song Lyrics Podcast. I'm doing season 4, episode 196 with my first ever Bryan Adam's Miss Heard song lyric. The Miss Heard lyric is, "Baby, you're wrong and I won." And then the correct lyrics is, "Baby, you're all that I want." Sounds pretty close. I have to acknowledge something though, that earlier this week on Wednesday, May 24th, my idol Tina Turner passed away at the age of 83. And the last time I did a misheard song lyric on Tina Turner was back on season 2, episode 72 for her song Private Dancer. I had thought that the song lyric of Dutch marks for dollars was actually stretch marks for dollars. So I wanted to acknowledge her and may she rest in peace. She was quite a legend. And because of that, I remembered she had done a duet with a Bryan Adams called It's Only Love. It's Only Love. Really good duet. And I thought, you know what? I've never done a Bryan Adams misheard song lyric. So I'm doing one ironically called Heaven. So see how it all works together? And I know she's in heaven. So let's just dig into this. So let's talk about Heaven. It's a song written by Canadian singer-songwriter Bryan Adams, recorded back in 1983. And it was written by both he and a gentleman by the name of Jim Vallance. Let's talk about Bryan Adams first. Well, he was born on November 5th, 1959. Like I said, he's a Canadian singer, songwriter, record producer, and actually photographer, and has been cited as one of the best-selling music artists of all time. He is estimated to have sold between 75 million and more than 100 million records and singles worldwide. Now remember, back up until in the mid-2000s, that's when people had to actually go to the record store and actually purchase the record or cassette tape in person. So that's amazing. So Adams was the most played artist on Canadian radio back in the 2010s and has had 25, now get that, 25 top 15 singles in Canada and a dozen more in each of the US, UK, and Australia countries. He actually joined his first band at the young age of 15, and at age 20, his debut album was released. He rose to fame in North America with that 1983 top 10 album, Cuts Like a Knife. I love that song too, Cuts Like a Knife, featuring its title track and the ballads Straight from the Heart. Straight from the heart. I love his voice because it's very gravelly, okay? His first U.S. top 10 hit. His 1984 Canadian and U.S. #1 album, Reckless, which became the first album by a Canadian to be certified diamond in Canada, made him a global star with his 6 charting singles, including Run to You, Summer of '69, both top 10 hits in the U.S. and Canada, and of course the power ballad that we're talking about today, Heaven, which was a U.S. #1 hit, which is perfect, again, because of Miss Tina Turner passing away, and they did a duet back in the day as well. His 1987 album, Into the Fire, with its U.S. and Canadian top 10 song, Heat of the Night, rose to #2 in Canada and the top 10 in the U.S. and several other countries. And then in 1989, he ended the decade by co-writing with fellow Canadian songwriter Jim Vallance, who I mentioned earlier, and mega American songwriter Diane Warren, When the Night Comes, played at the end credits of that year's Tom Selleck starring crime drama An Innocent Man. It was an actual film. And then in 1991, Adams released Everything I Do for You, which was, of course, to the soundtrack of Robin Hood, which went to #1 in at least 19 countries, including for 16 straight weeks in the UK, and is one of the best-selling singles of all time, having sold more than 15 million copies worldwide. The song was included on Adams' Waking Up the Neighbors 1991, a worldwide #1 album that sold 16 million copies, including being certified diamond in Canada. Another major hit off the album was the Canadian #1 and US #2 hit, Can't Stop This Thing We Started, which also went top 10 in several other countries. So beginning in 1993, Bryan Adams' hits were mostly ballads. That's what I love about him. People that know me, I love me a power ballad, including the worldwide #1 or 2 hits, Please Forgive Me, and that came in 1993. All for Love, 1993, and Have You Ever Really Loved a Woman, 1995. The latter 2 topping the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. And then Adams' 1993 Greatest Hits compilation album called So Far So Good topped the charts in numerous countries, selling 13 million copies worldwide, including being certified 6 times platinum in Canada, 5 times platinum in the US, and 14 times platinum in Australia. And then in 1996, Adams' album called 18 Till I Die was a top 5 album in many countries, but only reached number 31 in the US. He did duets with Barbra Streisand. Oh, I love this song from 1996, I Finally Found Someone, his last US top 10 hit, and Melanie C or Mel C from the Spice Girls, When You're Gone in 1998, an international top 5 hit. In the 1990s, Adams had 6 European radio airplay #1 songs for 32 weeks, the 4th and the 3rd most respectively, and 3 #1 songs in the European sales chart for 29 weeks total, the most weeks of any artist. Since 1999, Adams released 8 albums, 3 reaching #1 in Canada, and the last 3 reaching the top 3 in the UK, Germany, and elsewhere in Europe. Then in 2008, Bryan Adams was ranked 38th on the list of all-time top artists on the Billboard Hot 100. He won 20 Juno Awards and a Grammy Award for Best Song Written for a Motion Picture or Television among 16 Grammy nominations, and has been nominated for 5 Golden Globe Awards and 3 Academy Awards for songwriting for films. He also has been inducted to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Canada's Walk of Fame, and the Canadian Broadcast Hall of Fame, and, oh my God, so many, the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, and the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. And then on May 1st, 2010, he received the Governor's General Performing Arts Award for his 30 years of contributions to the arts. So lots of accolades and definitely deserved. So let's talk about the song's influence. Why did he write Heaven? He had apparently been an opening act for Journey for about 100 dates back in 1983. That I did not know. And it was part of their Frontiers tour. And during that time, he and his co-writer, Jim Vallance, wrote Heaven, which apparently was inspired by Journey's hit, Faithfully. Faithfully, did not know that. So Faithfully was the impetus to Heaven. It was recorded at the Power Station in New York City on June 6th and 7th back in 1983. And then what happened was, this is so funny, halfway through the recording session, his drummer, Mickey Curry, who had warned Adams about his limited availability that day, announced that he had to leave since he had committed in advance to a Hall & Oates session. I'm sorry, I'm so busy, I got to do a Hall & Oates session. So since the recording for Heaven was running behind schedule, Adams called Journey drummer Steve Smith at the time, who happened to be in New York City at the time, and he filled Curry's drumming position. So luckily he had, been an opening act for Journey, so he asked, hey, Steve Smith, can you do it? And he was able to help him. The song first appeared on the soundtrack to a 1983 film, A Night in Heaven, although it was not released as a single at the time. I did not know that. I only knew of it as just a single, did not know it was attached to this 83 film, and we're going to go into that film detail in just a bit. Adams was unconvinced that Heaven was suitable for his next studio album, Reckless, a feeling that was also echoed by the producer, Jimmy Iovine, who was working with Adams at the time. Iovine thought that the song was too light for the album and recommended that Bryan Adams not include it. Thank God they did not listen to him. But at the last moment, Adams changed his mind. Well, how did the song do? Remember I mentioned it first appeared in that 1983 movie, A Night in Heaven. It was a soundtrack for that movie, and it also got a lot of airplay with a lot of radio stations. I heard it a lot growing up because I was a teen at that time, and I think it had ended up in one of our slow dances at school. So it reached the number 9 on Billboard's Top Tracks chart in February 1984. So let's talk about A Night in Heaven, because I've never heard of this film. Now I need to watch it because the entire film is on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's a 1983, this is how they call it, American romantic drama film, directed by John G. Avildsen, starring then, hot commodity Christopher Atkins of Blue Lagoon as a college student and Leslie Ann Warren as his professor. This is where it goes a little off key. Long story short, it's a movie about a teacher with marital problems with her husband who has a one-night fling with her student who happens to be a dancer at a local strip club. So she doesn't know this until he comes out. He's dressed, covered. He actually looks like the Stig, if those of you that watch this other show that I'm into with cars. He comes out with a helmet, all white, and once he takes off his helmet, she realizes, oh shit, that's my student, and does this striptease and lap dance, and then the rest is history. Well, it, of course, was not a favored film by a lot of film critics, but the song that Bryan Adams did for it, Heaven, did quite well. From the movie, Christopher Atkins won the 1983 Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actor. I'm going to have to watch it and see if that was definitely honored for him. that he actually earned that. And then the original music score was composed by Jan Hammer. Remember him from Miami Vice soundtrack? And the soundtrack features 2 songs that would later be huge hits. One of them is Heaven, of course, by Bryan Adam. And it would become Adam's first #1 song when it was re-released in 1985. So that's when I heard it in 85, only not even knowing that it was connected to a 1983 movie. An early version of the song Obsession, performed on the soundtrack by its co-workers Holly Knight and Michael DeBarres, would be re-recorded and released as a single by the band Animotion. So it's funny that these 2 songs, Heaven and Obsession, kind of like were almost workshopped in this movie in 83, and then 2 years later, they are big hits for both Animotion and Bryan Adam. So there you go, some nuggets there. So the song, again, was released as the 3rd single from the album Reckless in April of 1985. So yours truly was a young 13, so I remember it very, very precisely, and hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, the highest charting single from Reckless, and his only #1. That I did not know. And then the song also re-entered the top rock tracks chart at the time, peaking at #27. Heaven also peaked at #12 on the adult contemporary chart during its 2nd run, becoming Adam's 2nd single to reach the chart after Straight from the Heart in 1983, and his biggest hit until 1991. In Canada, Heaven reached #11 on the RPM singles chart. The song was big everywhere. It was released in Australia, Europe, and New Zealand in 1985. Heaven peaked at #38 in the UK. It's in several mainland European countries. Heaven was the first hit for Adams. Heaven reached the top 10 in Sweden and Norway, and then the top 20 in Austria, Ireland, Switzerland, and Sweden. It was a moderate top 100 success in Germany, where it peaked at #62, and in Australia, it peaked at #12. There are 2 music videos. I did not know that. I had to see both of them. The main one on YouTube is the one where there's an actual kind of story. So the first one includes appearances by an actress by the name of Lisette Anthony. I've seen her before. She's one of those character actors. You see her face, you're like, oh, I've seen her before. The other actor in it is Garwin Sanford. He's a Canadian film and television actor known for his roles on Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis, and another character actor by the name of Anthony Harrison. In this version, Lisette's character is watching her date boyfriend, played by Garwin Sanford, get pulled over by a cop and asked to do a sobriety test. She looks obviously perturbed, because I don't know if they were coming from a dinner or leaving one. So she ends up running across the street to a Bryan Adams concert. She sees the marquee at the Stanley, gets in without a ticket. No one asks for a ticket, and watches him perform. Obviously, this is a music video. He sees her from afar from a stage as he's singing Heaven and falls in love, ? He then runs away after he's done singing, or she then runs away, and then he sees her and decides, I need to run after her. And he runs to the side stage, puts on his famous brown leather jacket, tries to open a side stage door, but it's locked, and all he sees at the window of the door is there's a snow blizzard outside. And just about minutes earlier, it was a nice clear night. So very confusing video. The second video was shot in London, England, and features Adam singing the song in a live concert setting, but there's no people. Behind him is his band, but they're all stacked video monitors of his band playing along behind him. And then the video monitors are also occupied in each seat of this empty theater of people. It's almost like it'd be perfect for a COVID-themed video, because no one is around. And the end of it, it's revealed it's a dream by Bryan Adams. This video was actually nominated for an MTV Video Music Award for Best Cinematography. So 2 videos, check them out. Lots of great tidbits, especially about the Animotion part with Obsession, and then this song being kind of workshopped until it got popular 2 years later when I heard it as a teen in 1985. And got to think of Miss Tina Turner, and she is definitely in heaven so far. So hopefully you learned some new things. If you have great suggestions like this misheard song lyric, send it to, of course, our Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Or if you want to go old school like me, send me an email at misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs@gmail.com, and we might do your misheard song lyric and give you a shout out. Till then, keep singing those songs wrong. Bye.